My entitled mother tried to smoke cigarettes in my car, and I ended up having to shut her down. My mother has been smoking since she was 13 years old, and of course she had to smoke in the house when I was a child, and had no regard for me not enjoying smelling like an ashtray. So I went to school smelling like cigarettes every morning for 12 years. Moving out for college was a relief, and I hated going home for any reason because I'd have to immediately do laundry when I got back to school. She doesn't believe that her smoking is what caused my asthma, or that I have asthma at all, to be honest. But this isn't about kid me. This is actually a story from 4 years ago. I was 26 and getting married at a Ren fair in Texas. My mother lives in Massachusetts and would have to fly out. I told her months beforehand, you are not under any circumstance allowed to smoke in my car. She kind of whined and mostly blew it off like, sure. I knew she wasn't taking me seriously, but this was a hill I was ready to unalive on. The wedding gets closer, and every now and again I'd remind her, you're not smoking in my car, and she'd get all whiny about it again. Finally, she tells me she's booked her flight and that she'll get in at about 10 o'clock at night before the wedding. I was really hurt because I hadn't seen her in 2 years, and I was hoping we'd get some dinner or something, but she insisted she couldn't take the time off or leave my stepfather for too long. That's fine, whatever. And I tell her once again, you are not smoking in my car. But this time when I told her, it turned into an actual fight. My mom said, that's not fair. I said, I don't care. My car, my rules. You're not smoking in it. She goes on to explain, you can't expect me to go 5 hours on a plane without smoking and then an entire car ride back to the hotel. I end up saying, well, that's not my problem. You are not smoking in my car. I will leave you at the airport if you try. But I'm going to need a cigarette, she says. No, you don't. You can wait until you get to the hotel. Please. We hung up angry. Also, it's worth noting that my mother isn't a cosigner on my car or anything. She's never helped me pay for anything in my life. The car is under my name. She has no say in it. And she's already making my life difficult by showing up at the literal last minute before the wedding. If anyone deserves a cigarette, it's me for putting up with her garbage. Fast forward to a week before the wedding. I ask her all the pre-travel questions just to make conversation. Stuff like, have you figured out your ride to the airport? Or have you started packing? And etc. And then I approached the forbidden topic. I said, remember, you're not smoking in my car. Oh, come on. I go on to say, I don't want my car smelling like smoke. I don't even have an ashtray. She tries to reason with me by saying, I'll just roll the window down. I say, in Dallas at the end of May? No, you're not. I'm not going to sweat the entire way back to the hotel just so you can smoke. And even if I was willing to, the answer is still no. But that's too long to go without a cigarette. I look at her and I say, I do not care. If smoking is more important to you, find another way to your hotel. She says, you're being unreasonable. Give me one good reason why I can't smoke in the car. Now, again, at this point, I'm pretty upset and ready to tell her not to even bother coming. And then I remembered something. Mom, my fiance is allergic to secondhand smoke. Which is true. It just wasn't something I'd bring up to her. Oh, she says. Well, why didn't you say that earlier? Of course I won't smoke in your car if it's a health issue. So I eventually got my way, even if I had to blackmail her a little bit with the possibility of her hurting my soon-to-be wife. It makes me so angry that she has so little respect for me that smoking is more important than my wishes. This doesn't really have an epic ending. She had to have her cigarettes before she got in the car though. Okay, cool. It's not like it's the night before my wedding. I totally have time to stand in the middle of an airport parking garage while you puff on your death stick. Of course, I found out later that she didn't think it was a real wedding, which put a lot of her behavior in perspective, but that's a story for another time. Overall, this is a subject that has always kind of been brought up in my house. I've told her on multiple occasions she is not allowed to smoke in my house if she ever visits. If she wants to smoke, she can go stand on the back porch away from the house. I don't care if it's cold or raining. She's probably never going to come to visit us again. She's not allowed to smoke around my wife. In fact, when I was younger, I've never actually brought my wife home to my house because it reeks of cigarette smoke. And also, I don't want her to ever meet my stepfather. When we visit Massachusetts to visit my family, we mostly meet in public places. She's even not ever going to be allowed to smoke around her future grandchildren. And if her cigarettes mean more to her than my wishes, then I'm perfectly happy to never see her again. That is a good job for the original poster deciding to put their foot down and stop something that can be super harmful. The fact that this was even up for discussion and that this person couldn't understand where their child was coming from is actually baffling. I mean, the rule is pretty simple. When you're in someone else's car, you go under their rules. So for him to say, hey, you can't smoke in my car, that is the end of it. And if you break that rule, congratulations, you're gonna have to find another ride from the airport. You don't want to get an Uber from the airport. It's gonna be expensive. Like, I understand if someone has an addiction and they're struggling to fight the urge to do something like smoking, but you absolutely need to respect somebody else's boundaries. And the original poster has it right. If his mom is actually gonna choose the cigarettes over his family, then he would probably be better off with not seeing her. This next story came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you'd like to submit your own story.
The full version of this video is on the Am I the Jerk YouTube channel, so check the link in the description for it. And if there are any updates to this story, that's where they'll be. There is also a podcast version of this show on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever you use. Just search Am I the Jerk. It's perfect for those of you guys that use Spotify or whatever platform you want to listen to podcasts while you're driving or on the bus or drawing or planning to take over the world. So go check out the Am I the Jerk and Am I the Genius podcasts on any of those platforms.